Good day, podcast community. PeteKane here, Podcast Pete, and certified lifestyle coach. Let me get rid of our QR code because we want you to pay attention to this podcast. If you're aware of how social media is changing and what you need to do to position yourself, we're going to get to know Sebastian's story and get to know how he might be able to help you in the future. So, Sebastian, tell our viewers who you are, what you do, and who you serve, and then we'll get into our podcast.
Yeah, thanks, Pete. So I do a couple of different things. I am a part of an entrepreneurial community in Austin, Texas called Focus Founders,
Mhm.
and I am the community lead and events coordinator. My official title is the Social Alchemist.
Mm.
um, and yeah, I mean, our mission in Focus Founders is to like spread awareness and authenticity and love through. We help like ADHD entrepreneurs focus and build their business and just like and have fun with it too is the biggest thing, like learning how to play within the business and just like lead a more fun, exciting life. So that's the Focus Founder side of it, and then I personally am a coach, a life coach, and
Mhm.
I help people basically find their purpose and their passion and live from that space. um
I
so
love
yeah.
them both. I love the ADHD community.
Mm.
I am one. So I
Yeah.
think without the ADHD people, we don't have any entrepreneurs in the world because they drive the world. They drive business. And when did you discover that you had that active brain and it was different than others?
Yeah, so I was actually diagnosed with ADD when I was like 5.
Hmm.
And then I think I'm not sure if ADHD was a thing yet, but that did turn into a diagnosis of ADHD. And then I was like medicated like everybody else was. And then as I didn't have much guidance around it. They just kind of threw medication at me and wasn't told like why I was different or anything. And so I was left to figure it out on my own, like I was with a lot of different things. And so as I got into my early 20s and started my self-growth journey and everything, and really stepping into what it was like to live with that, I never really identified with having ADHD, but I recognized the tendencies. And it really came through me as like not being able to focus on just one thing. But then I also realized that it was very easy to focus on the things that I enjoyed, like video games. Video games was fun. I was like, I could focus on video games all day long. So like, do I actually have ADHD? And the answer is like yes, I think, but that's what clued me into like, oh, maybe I should find the things that I really enjoy doing, and it's going to be a lot easier to focus on those things. And once I did that, I mean, there's still like the hiccups, because I think when it comes to like building a business, things become tedious and it gets hard to focus on things even while you love doing them. But having that sense of I have a purpose of doing this really helps give the self-love during those moments, and know when to like put it aside and be like, I'm just not going to do this today. I'm just going to focus on me and self-care and move from that space.
I love that. You said self care, and
Mm.
I didn't grasp that part of it till later in my journey. And I think that we all have to have that self care. What how did you kind of lean into self care as being something that empowered you or made you kind of different? Because I think from what I've discovered, because I was diagnosed after I flunked out of college, flunked out of high school, didn't pass English. I had that active brain, but I didn't know what it was. I knew it was active, but I didn't know how to channel it. And I didn't always take care of myself because I could work. I tried to outwork people, and that didn't work. How did you discover your journey of self care?
Yeah, great question. Thinking about it now, I feel like the roots started in like going to the gym.
Mhm.
my all the men in my family have always worked out, so I've always been around people talking about it. And I've since like high school, I've always kind of gone to the gym, even though I didn't view it as like, oh, I'm taking care of myself. It's just something I did because I wanted to attract girls and have a nice body. But then that did change. Like in my early 20s is when I really started to be like, okay, like how can I change the way I feel? I dealt with a lot of anger, self-hatred, and once I started, it was actually I found Alan Watts, the philosopher Alan Watts, started just like drilling a lot of his concepts into my brain, and that's when it really shifted, and I started to connect with meditation more. And then my workouts actually became a level of meditation. I started slowing down and just really embodying the workout, and that's when I started to focus on less of like what I looked like and like how I felt coming from the thing. So that was a
Mm.
beautiful connection, and really started building my meditation practice from there and experiencing over the course of a couple of years all the benefits that come with meditating and this new clarity and capacity that was building in my mind. And as I built this capacity, I was able to take on more and let go of the things that weren't serving me so much. So like this constant process of like emptying and then choosing the things that are supporting me. Um, and then I mean just this last year, so I mean I did that for a good 5, 6, maybe 7 years. And
Mhm.
that before I met Bill and Rex, a part of Focus Founders, and then finding that, and then realizing that there was this huge conscious community in Austin, and starting going to all these events and just like meeting all these amazing people, and it really clicked how like I'm sure we've all heard of like the five people you're around is like who you're gonna be,
Yeah.
and I'm so grateful I'm around like hundreds of people now who are like super high caliber conscious people, and so like being around them is just like enhanced that level of like clarity and capacity that I have within myself. And it's like we're creating this field of consciousness and coherence that's just so beautiful. And so yeah, self-care now just within the past like 7 months has taken on a whole new meaning that's hard to put into words, but it's more of like a somatic kind of sensation that I feel of just like openness and connection.
Yeah, I didn't people would mention self-care. I always believed in personal development, but I
Mm,
didn't always self-care that part of it. And it wasn't until I had a stroke that I discovered meditation. And that was kind of like it took it to another level. Now I meditate all the time.
mm,
When I go to the gym, I'm on the bike and I'm close my eyes, I'm meditating on whatever I'm listening to, and it's brought my self-awareness and my level of focus to another level. When you mentioned meditation for yourself, what was it like before you started meditation, and what could you share with our viewers now as the benefit you got from your meditation journey?
mm. Yeah. So before I started meditating, I was very confused. I knew like I didn't feel good. Like I mentioned, like I dealt with anger and I didn't have clarity on like what am I doing with my life. I was just working dead end jobs that I hated. I despised waking up every morning. Like my first thought was like, how can I get out of going to work today so I can just stay at home and play video games and watch TV? And a part of me, like behind everything, knew that I could be different, but I just didn't know how. And so that was like Alan Watts, as I mentioned, like was such a big like aha factor in the whole thing of like, oh, like there's this whole other way of being. And so yeah, like very confused, very angry, and like my mind was when I say capacity, it's like is if you can imagine like the ability to think, like all my thoughts were fitting in a space like this big. And
Mhm,
then after meditating for a little bit, which it takes some time, like it's I
mhm.
don't know anybody who meditates one time and is like, oh, like I see everything now.
Oh,
So it did take some time, but after like probably like 6 months to a year, feeling that capacity expand, it was like that room like expanded so I could see all of that confusion that was still there and anger, but I was like, oh, like I can move this around and put it in different places and see it in a different light. And that was very invigorating and enlightening. And so doing that was I was allowed I could look at each one individually and allow it to process and then let go what wasn't serving me anymore. And so I think, yeah, just that capacity aspect was the biggest change in me and brought me like peace and comfort. And then able to like implement things that felt better, like joy and excitement.
Yeah, I love what you just shared. I had lunch with a friend of mine before we could jump on the podcast, and I was telling him a little bit about the journey of discovering meditation because I didn't know I was kind of like what you just shared earlier, like thought if I just did it one time, I would, everything would click and I would just like be in the zone. It took a while. It took a while to calm down the active brain and really get to the point. And I don't just sit down in total silence. I do it in different places, but I do it to reset. Like there's so much, we're in front of our computers a lot. And I think what a lot of our community would like to hear is how do we manage the digital world with the physical world? And what would you share that has helped you? Because we're all connected to devices, but we
Mm.
really have to get out into the physical world to really get that balance. What have you discovered in addition to meditation that's helped you?
Mm. Yeah, I love that question. What's coming up for me is like first and foremost, not foremost, but just the calendar is one thing that I've really connected with and like really have found a new flow with. Like I'm always like every time someone asks me if I want to do something, I'm like, hold on, let me check my calendar. There's just so
Hmm.
many things in it that I'm so grateful for now. um and so like that, like using that to, so like I don't have to think about it, like what am I doing next week or next month, like it's there, I put it in there, I can trust that that's right, and I can kind of work around that with new events that are popping up. So definitely the calendar is super helpful. Also using I use Chat GPT a lot. And most recently I've used that with like journaling. I've in the past 2 weeks have really connected with journaling, which I haven't. I've tried for years to like really get down into journal. But I just like I would start and then it's like, what am I going to journal about? Was always the question. I'm like, what am I even going to write here? And what I found this last week is like prompting myself. Like that's what's difficult for me to come up with on my own, at least for now. And so like using AI to like, hey, like what do I journal about? And it gives me like a long list. I pick out the ones that feel the best to me, which have been like more somatic things, like what's going to get me into my body, like how do I feel right now, what's my body trying to tell me, and then write out with that. And gosh, that's brought like such a new larger motivation that feels really good. Hmm. Another thing that is new through, I've never been connected so much with social media over the years until I found Focus Founders and was on Skool, because it's like such a simple, user-friendly layout and there's like no ads and it's just people and there's this beautiful sense of community across the board. And I've really connected with that. And it's actually helped me get into other communities on like Facebook and I guess Instagram doesn't have very many communities, but I've developed a new relationship with it and am seeing the benefits of connecting with people in that way. And I mean, technology is very much a part of our world. I think the a younger version of me was like, no, like I don't want to be like that. Like I want to go back to the way it was in the 80s where we're riding our bikes outside and things like that. But it's like fighting the flow of how life is. And I think I'm gonna meet a lot more resistance in my life if I do that rather than just surrendering to the flow of what is.
Ooh, that's beautiful. Yeah, I have a gentleman that he was after me for probably 5 months to lean into score. And he spoke two times at my live event. And when I would introduce him as the person that was building a community in score, I would call it school. I would call it school. I mean, I would call it score. And
Mm,
I kept mispronouncing it, but he kept telling me, keep an eye on it. And I, I did find your community on school, and I was
hmm
in another community. And I just watched for several months of just the simplicity, just the way it's set up, and then I finally jumped in because I've done, I don't know, 300, 400 podcasts, but we didn't have a place where everybody could be in community together. So we're in the process of pulling all of our people into Skool, that we would do it manually. I mean, I can't believe I did it that long. We had a program and we still use it, but we don't use it as our community. Tell our viewers, like, what is Skool to you, and what are the benefits that you have found that you have discovered by being a lead in the ADHD school community?
mm, good question. Yeah. Um, I think my favorite aspect of it is being able to connect with people around the world.
Mm,
And because it has such this authenticity feel to it, like I had resistance to it at first because I was just used to Instagram and Facebook where you can get bots and scammers and things like that. But
mhm.
there's so many like authentic people within it, and you can kind of regulate who's in your group and who's not. So like being able to have like real conversations, like this is our first time meeting,
Yeah,
and I'm not sure where you live, but like without school, we wouldn't have met, and we
yeah,
wouldn't be having this experience. So this is, yeah, this is amazing. And I had like 2 days ago, um, someone who's in I think they're in Germany. This guy Asha, he's also in Focus Founders, and he took me through this hypnosis session, and it was this beautiful like 20-minute thing, and he ended up
mhm,
posting it on YouTube, and just like, oh my gosh, another experience that I wouldn't have had without school. And then we also have like our co-working sessions. We call them Eat the Frog sessions, and so many new people are coming into there, and just getting to chat with people around the world and seeing how alike we are, but then like also in the differences too, and kind of connecting over
mhm.
that is really shaping my personality also. And then I get to bring that into my local community and express that in people. And it's almost like I've never traveled outside the United States, but it almost feels like I have because I'm getting to experience all these people from different backgrounds and cultures.
Ooh, that is, when I did introductions over the last few years, it was always either through like video or through email introductions. And I had people in Italy and Portugal, all over because of LinkedIn, but I never had the ability to connect them all. And
Mm,
yes, we met through school, and that is that's my number one focus in 2026 is the school community. I have never seen anything so simple, so effective, so value driven, that I mean, I have 9 courses now. We're putting them in there in the systematic way to drive value to the members. And yeah, we met through there. That is kind of crazy that
yeah.
you can meet some, and I do. I want to emphasize to the people listening the authentic nature, because you're right. When you get in, whether it's Facebook or other communities, there's so much noise. There's so much people that aren't who they are. You know who the person is. You can read their bio, you can watch their posts, you can genuinely connect with people in a digital way. And then here we are doing a podcast to get to know each other further, but yet allow people to get to know you, because I didn't know you before. I mean, I knew a little bit about, because I love that community. It is good. What would you say is when you look at the next year in your lead position or lead within ADH, ADH, I'm an ADD guy too. I always have the ADH community, focus community. Like, what do you hope that what would you want to do in that community that you've set your goals and your focus on for this upcoming year?
Mm. Yeah, I think within the online community, what I really like to see, and I am seeing as we've begun this new year, is finding a way to encourage members to engage more,
Mhm.
because that's how other members can find value. That so it's not just coming from us who are kind of running the group, which is fantastic, but it's also like I feel like it can have almost a not a dogmatic feel, but like when you're the one running the thing, it's almost like, oh, I'm telling you these things, I'm teaching you these things. So when all of the members gather in together and they're providing their value also, it's like, oh, like that's what really gives the community sense. So
Mhm.
definitely encouraging more of that on the online community. And then in our local community in Austin, definitely leaning into more hosting more events, which we're
Mm.
already doing. Where we have a what we're calling the ADHD Entrepreneurs Anti Summit, which would be like an anti-summit slash networking event where there's like workshop and speakers and everything. Less we're talking to you and teaching you thing and more interactive. Um, Even plans like my buddy's gonna like DJ at the end of it. So again, like touching on the fun with the business thing and like play, it's oh my gosh, it's amazing. And there's a couple of like meditation events that I'm coming up with, journaling and authentic relating. We did an improv event like a week or two ago. So yeah, leaning into doing more events in the local scene for sure, and then also attending events with that are ran by people who aren't in Focus Founders, because there's still that overlap. Like the more other communities, probably like hundreds of communities in Austin, like different conscious communities, and so even if they don't join Focus Founders, like I still get to like add value to those groups and go in there and meet the people, and just a beautiful thing. So yeah, again, like just spreading love and joy in that way.
Yeah, that's good. I don't know the exact number, but it's in the 80s of percentages of people that don't like their job. And like Monday
Mm,
morning is the blues that start, and you're saying enjoying. And I think when people find what they're good at, their superpower, and they're in a purpose-driven community like you're talking about, it's not like work, it's like fun. And like you said about the video games, when you get in there, you're focused because you love doing it. And when you're doing the community, I'm guessing you're loving that too, almost like your video game experience. Tell us about like your morning routine. Like, what does that look like for you?
ooh, yeah, I love that. That's something I've put a lot of focus in. So thank you for asking that. So yeah, like very nuanced with it. Even I have this in my calendar, and I also like to write it out, even when I'm doing some of the same things, just because it's like out of my mind and on paper, and I can check it off. So I
Mhm.
wake up, and what helps me is like immediately getting up. Like if I don't wake up and get out of bed, I'm going to be more prone to like laying in bed for the next 30 minutes, 45 minutes. So getting up immediately, drinking water, brush my teeth, and then stretching like kind of wakes my body up. And something new that I started this week was like tapping my body. It's kind of cool. So you're just kind of like waking the muscles up. That's been fun. And then then I journal, and then I do some level of journaling that gets me into my body. Sometimes I'll journal about a dream that I had, just kind of
Mhm.
whatever comes up, what's alive within me right now, and just put it out onto the paper. And then I feel clear once I do that. It's like I'm not holding anything back. So then I get into meditation, and then meditate 10, 20 minutes, and then I cook breakfast. Warm up my
Mhm.
breakfast. I always eat the same thing. I'm very simple. It's this like egg and potato concoction that I make every single day.
Mhm.
Make that ideally coffee. And I also have a specific coffee that I have too. It's like an instant French roast, and then the Chobani brand of cookie dough, and Oh my gosh, it's delicious. And I'll interchange that with like tea. I love Earl Grey tea.
Yeah,
Um, and then by that time, I usually join the Eat the Frog sessions in Focus Founders and just like get that highest leveraging task that I want to get done
yeah.
over the next from 10 to 12, and then any other thing that I have planned in the day. And also like in my journaling, I like to write out my tasks and like my intention for the day and things like that. So I feel just like whenever I do all of that, I'm not always perfect. You know, sometimes I do lay in bed for 45 minutes and then I don't get to do the whole thing. But when I successfully do that, I'm so locked in and prepared for the day that most of the time all the things get done. But then even when they don't, like I give myself grace and kind of
Yes.
remain aware of the care that I need. And if I feel overwhelmed, then I take breaks and you know, I'll work out. That's another thing that I'll do within the breaks. I like
Mhm.
to do at some point in my day do like 100 push-ups, 100 body squats, and then 50 to 70 like pull-ups, and like not all at once but like throughout sets, just so I know like I did that today, and then it also gives me an influx of energy too. But yeah, kind of all of that is pretty much how each of my weekdays and sometimes my weekends look.
Ooh, I love that. You described that. That is like 90% of mine too.
Mm,
Before my stroke, I didn't journal. I being dyslexic, writing was not my thing, but I found a side of me that I can express myself. Now I've filled up 17 journals, and my default is journaling. Like, I don't watch TV, I don't do social media. I've cut out things that are distractions and things that really fill me up, which is journaling, and doing more of those things. And man, the energy level. Now, I would love to ask you, I've been working on this, I still work on it, calming down the brain at night.
mm.
Rest is so important to just our ability to function. How do you wind down that active brain as you get into that sleep? And like you said, you have good dreams when you get good quality sleep. What's your evening wind down look like?
Mm. Yeah, so the evening routine is something that I'm blessed to still work on. I can honestly say that I think I stray from it more times than I don't, because it's because I have such a it's rather like it's structured, but it's loose structure. I do so much in the day that I feel like I deserve to have like a TV time at night. And a lot of times I'm staying up to like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning because I'm watching a TV show or scrolling or something, and I justify it by like, oh, I deserve this. I did so much good work today, and not thinking about how that's going to impact my next day.
Yeah.
Um, that being said, when I do follow my routine, I journal again, kind of reflect on the day. In the Focus Founders Accelerator, we there's a thing that we do every day, which is like an end of day reflection, and it goes through, you know, like wins and non-negotiables and quests and things like that. So that's already kind of gets the juices flowing, and I like to kind of go from that and then write out my own thing on paper, just emptying it out at the end of the day. And then another meditation, ideally, that when I do that, it does help me sleep better, because there's a lot of times when I meditate and I almost fall asleep when I meditate, just because I was at a meditation event last night sitting up in a chair, and when we finished I didn't want to open my eyes. I'm just like, no, let me stay asleep. I'm so tired.
Yeah.
So yeah, ideally like doing that, and you know, all the basics like brushing teeth and things before bed too, shower. But yeah, again, something I don't do that as much as I would like to. Um, but yeah, I mean, like I'm aware of that, and I get to work on that as I move into the future.
Yeah. Somebody shared this with me, like, it's never you're never finished or arrived. You're always working on yourself, and
Mm.
you always have to look at areas that you can improve. What would you say, like, fueling yourself? Like, how do you make selections in what you know, eat and how you fuel yourself? because energy is important, and our, what we put in our body does make a difference. What could you share with our community that has helped you get better in that area?
Mm, yeah, the idea of diet has been something that's ever changing in my life. I In high school, I was so bad at eating. I would eat like junk food, chips, sodas, candy, the whole thing. And it's funny because when that's all you do and I have like wasn't healthy, you have nothing to contrast. So when someone's like, "Oh, you're unhealthy," you're like, "No, I'm not. I feel fine," because like all I know is eating junk food and things. And so once I saw the other side of that and like ate healthy for a little while, I was like, oh no, like I was feeling horrible before and now I feel good. And so like that was kind of the beginning of it. And then when it comes to diets, there's a diet for every person in this world, right? There's you could change the diet to make it whatever you want. And I think that's beneficial, like following one person's diet doesn't necessarily make sense for another. Um,
That's great.
Something that's made yeah, something that's made sense for me is like very basic, but just like having an equal amount of the macronutrients of like carbs, proteins, and healthy fats,
Mhm.
which is a lot easier to think about for me because I am already like of this, like because I work out and things, I am already like protein, protein, protein. So like, okay, I got that down. And then just adding in fats, which really can be just like healthy oils, like avocado oils, olive oils and things, avocados, um, and then I really like potatoes, and so that's kind of my thing, or rice, and so they're very basic. I'm very basic, and again, like this doesn't have to work for everybody, but I love just being like, okay, equal amounts, carbs, fats, proteins. I take the supplements and vitamins, and that makes me feel good. Like it
Mm,
feels like my body is very nourished from that.
that's really good. A friend of mine turned me on about 6 months ago to yucca, and now I'm at
Mm,
Costco scanning, and it's amazing where something looks like it's healthy, and then you scan it, it comes up with like a 2 or a 1, and it's like it's helped me make better selections. But you mentioned avocado; those little avocado cups, they're like 90 out of 100, and
mm,
so when you can find the foods that really give you that energy, and you make your own kind of craft your own style, because you're right, everybody's body's different. It could be great for me, but you take it and it's no big deal. So, encourage I love to encourage my community is like find what works for you, but you'll know through your energy. You know,
mm.
if something like you said when in high school, if you're eating chips and all the other stuff and drinks, sugar drinks, and you're wondering why you feel like crap. Well, you're putting it in your body, so it's probably going to be. But when you shift that and you're getting up, you're drinking that water, you're meditating, you're journaling, you're doing having a healthy breakfast, that energy level, because we have being ADHD, we have a high energy thought process, but you got to combine that with your physical energy so they're both kind of like working together. What would you say, like when it comes to reading? We talked about self development, a little bit about personal. What books could you share that you really have enjoyed that you could share with our community?
Mm, yeah. So I've been more drawn to like listening to books, like
Okay.
Spotify auto. Yeah, there's something
Me
about
too.
about like self-development books specifically. It's easier for me to read like a fantasy book. It's more engaging, but like something
Mhm.
about the self-development's just like hard. And I'm sure it's a skill I can build too. But actually right now within the Focus Founders book club, we're
Mhm.
reading Letting Go by David
Okay.
Hawkins. Yeah, beautiful, beautiful book.
Mhm.
So definitely recommend that one, and joining book club too. The next one's on the 18th. So
Hmm.
yeah, would love to see some new faces in there. Um, Another one, there's a book called just Self Compassion by a woman named Kristen Neff. That was really helpful, especially for
Mhm.
me, because that's something that I really lacked. So just learning how to give myself love. The most uncomfortable
Mhm.
practice was like the mirror exercise of looking yourself in the eyes and saying "I love you" until you believe
Yes.
it. Yeah.
Oh gosh, that it's power in that. I had a lady that she was probably in her late 50s, and I lived in a senior 55 and older community for a year and a half. And I didn't realize it at the time, but the average age was 80. And so people like, especially our ladies, they were getting older and they had a hard time kind of accepting that they weren't looking like they did when they're 25. But she said this, she put a tape right in front of the mirror, 6 feet back from the mirror, that gave her a perspective when she looked herself in the mirror. She wasn't so close that she saw every little wrinkle in the mirror, but she was back, that she had that longer perspective that really made a difference, she said, in how she was accepting herself. Because we're all going to get older, we're all going to
Mm,
change, but how we still love ourselves, like you said, looking yourself in the mirror and saying "I love you," it's like it's actually so therapeutic to do
mm,
that. So thanks you for sharing that, because it
mm.
brought back that one thing she told me. I want to be respectful of your time. So tell our viewers how they can get a hold of you. And then I have one final question.
Yeah, so probably the fastest way, just because I'm on Skool all the time, is through Focus Founders. Yeah, like if you join Focus Founders, you'll see all my posts and engaging in the comments and everything. So just reach out through DMs with that. Also reach out to Bill. Um, Definitely open to that, and our mod team too. We are wonderful ladies, Allison and Rima, also super helpful, intelligent people. Um, but yeah, I'm also on like Instagram and Facebook, but that's the quickest way.
I'll put that in the show notes so people can get
Beautiful.
right to you. So final question. So what would you want our viewers, what would be the one thing you would want our viewers to take home from our time on this podcast?
Hmm. Good question. Hmm. I would say I would offer like a simple exercise to take some time, like 10, 20 minutes, to sit with yourself and feel what comes up for you in your body, like sensationally, like look, like ask, energetically, not necessarily with words, but just like ask, like, what does my body have to tell me? And then um describe whatever feeling comes up, and you can focus on just one feeling at a time,
Hmm.
and really focus on it. Like, is it heavy? Does it have a name? Does it have a texture, the color, smell? And then, yeah, like what is that feeling wanting to tell you? And see what comes up. And I feel like it'll be a beautiful experience.
Wow, that is so good. Sebastian, thank you so much. This has been
Mm,
real special to have you on the show, to have you share your journey and really what's going on. It's so important to be in touch with what you're doing. I love so many things that you've said. And thank you so much for sharing with us your journey. And we'd love to have you back and get further into what you're doing to really make an impact there in Austin and around the world. So thank
mm.
you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Pete. It was an honor.